Okay, here for another video. Today's topic is the new Game Changer documentary. Came out on Netflix not too long ago. Very hot topic right now, obviously. It's all about the plant-based diet and how it's very revolutionary, going to change lives, make better athletes, going to save lives, and all that shit. So I just want to talk about what my thoughts are on it. So first things first, it's a very like one-sided thing. Like it was more about how bad meat is for you than how good like plants are for you in a way. That's one thing I didn't really understand about it, is why they just felt the need to constantly bash animal meat in it when they were making it out that animal meat is a lot worse for you than it actually is, if it's even bad for you at all. So yeah, we'll get right to it. So their first point in the documentary was that protein's a bad energy source, or animal meat's a bad energy source. Like, no shit. Like, this is not new. Like, that's not protein's function. Like, that's a very known thing. And that's the thing about this. Like, this is like trickery for people who don't know a lot about nutrition or aren't experienced in it, right? So, like, people are going to just look at that right away and be like, oh my God, like, eating animal meat is such a waste. It doesn't give me energy. Like, that's not the purpose of protein. You need amino acids from protein to live. They serve a lot of functions in the body. Animal meat is a great source of that, right? Vegetables are not really a good source of it. There are some forms of, I guess, like vegetarian and vegan type food that are somewhat high in protein, like beans and like legumes and things like that. But you need to eat a lot of them to get an adequate amount of protein. And the thing about those things is that they're very high in carbohydrates as well. So first things first, if you're going to try to get all your protein from vegetables and just eating whole food, like not using protein powders and stuff like that, you're going to get a shit ton of carbohydrates with that. And unless you're doing a shit ton of exercise, you're going to get fat. It's true. So that kind of brings me to my next point, is they were showing all these athletes that switched to plant-based and the performance came better. The thing about these athletes is that they're all basically endurance-based athletes and like performance-based athletes, in the sense that they're energy-driven sports. Like they had a marathon runner. Marathon runners don't need a lot of protein. They're not trying to be super muscular. They're trying to have probably like a least amount of muscle as possible, so that they're lighter and that they can go for longer without wearing out their joints and using less oxygen. The less muscle you have, the less oxygen you're going to use, so the more efficient you are at running. Of course, these people need a high carbohydrate diet. That's what they were saying, like eat carbs for energy. Yes, carbohydrates are literally only an energy source. That's the only purpose they serve. They have no other purpose in the body besides being an energy source to give your body fuel and your brain fuel. They made a point that your brain wants glucose. Like, yeah, okay, that doesn't make meat bad. You still need protein for other shit. So, and then they had like a cyclist, right? She did the track thing, like won the Olympics or something. Again, yeah, why would she want to have a lot of protein in her diet? Why would she want a lot of muscle? You know, she needs enough muscle to pedal her bike really fast, but if she has too much, it's going to slow her down. The more muscle she has, the more oxygen she's going to require, the less efficient she's going to be at riding her bike around in circles, okay? So the other athlete they had, the strongman. So you obviously need a lot of muscle, right? Okay? He was a pretty big dude, but did you notice something about him? He was very fat. He was like 50% body fat, at least, that guy. So he was getting his protein from this vegetarian plant-based diet or whatever, but he had to eat a shit ton of extra carbohydrates and stuff to have the amount of protein to get the muscle he needed to move the weight that he was moving. But he was like super fat. Like, there's nobody that wants to look like that guy other than like those strongman dudes, because they need to have that weight to move the weight they're moving. Mass moves mass, so you want to be bigger. So, being that fat is not healthy no matter how you got fat. If you're carrying that much excess body fat, it's not good for you. So he was like another pretty poor example. And also they said he was like the strongest guy in the world, which is not fucking true. There's a lot of like I've seen all the world strongman competitions, the Arnold strongman competitions. That dude wasn't there. So he's not the strongest guy in the world. So that was basically just a straight up lie. Anyway, so moving on to my next point. They started getting on about how animals are just the middlemen for nutrients, right? So animals eat grass and vegetables and shit. Then we eat the animals, and that's a bad way for us to get those nutrients. Well, not really. So all those nutrients like those animals eat, like cows, for example, they store that in their blood, just like we do when we eat nutrients. Nutrients are then in your bloodstream. which get like blood is in the muscle of the animal. So the nutrients are stored in the animal meat. We then eat the meat. We then get the nutrients. But it's not like the people who eat meat are only eating meat. You can eat meat and vegetables. Humans are omnivores. We're not one or the other. You don't need to eat all meat or all plants. You can have both. Crazy. Crazy. You can have both things. So that was kind of another thing that ticked me off a little bit, I guess you could say. And then they went on, like they compared a human's digestive tract to a lion. A fucking lion, of all things. They're cats. We're humans. We're closer to gorillas with bigger digestive tracts, okay? And then people say, oh yeah, but gorillas, all they eat is plants. A fucking gorilla, literally, I looked this up, has to eat at least 40 pounds of vegetation to get its protein needs. Can you imagine eating 40 pounds of vegetables? 40 pounds of meat is a lot, okay? But meat is heavy. Like 1 pound of meat is like concentrated, like a 1 pound steak, right? 1 pound of vegetables is like a bucket, okay? 40 buckets you'd have to eat to get all the protein from leaves, basically, okay? It's not realistic, okay? If you're a person that wants to have muscle and therefore have a lean physique, you basically need to get protein from animal meat to a certain degree, right? Especially if you want to create a lot of muscle, like if you're a bodybuilder or a physique competitor, okay? Like there's really no other ways around it. Like show me a vegetarian Olympian or a vegan Olympian. Yeah, you're not going to find one. And if you do, they're not winning. So it's just not the most efficient way to go about getting your protein, obviously, right? I'm not bashing it. I'm not saying it can't be done. You know, I'm sure you can be a good athlete on a plant-based diet. And they showed some pretty impressive athletes, right? But like none of these people were bearing a ton of muscle and were super lean. And also, people at that high level, like they were showing, like these football players and Olympic athletes, they have good genetics. They could almost eat anything and look great and perform well. They're made to do it. They're at the highest level of their sport. Me and you and average people don't have the best genetics. We're not going to get by eating leaves and performing at a high level, okay? So, something else to keep in mind. The erection test. They do this erection test where they feed the guys before they go to bed a chicken burrito, and then they see how long they have an erection for when they're sleeping. Like, I don't even know the fucking purpose of this. This is weird. And it was like, okay, when they ate the meat, and then they ate the plant-based meat, which is just like packed with preservatives and shit to have something that looks like chicken but isn't really chicken. And then they had like a hard-on all fucking night. Like what? Again, what was the point? Okay, that's not an accurate measure of testosterone. You get your blood checked if you want to check your testosterone. That's like a fair way of doing it. And then after they do it, they say this is not a scientific based study. So it's basically like, here's this big portion of this documentary we're going to show you, and right at the end they're like, yeah, but that's bullshit. It's pretty much what they said. Like, it's not a scientific based study. So they just like randomly did this, throw it in the movie, and then literally right after they do it, they say it's like not legit. So you can write that off for being any type of evidence that a plant-based diet's going to give you a better boner. There's also drugs for that if you really have trouble in that area. And the last point I'm going to touch on, I'm not going to beat this to death because it's pretty much just like obvious for anyone who knows anything about nutrition. They mentioned about soy. So for a long time, there's been scientific studies that show an excess of taking in soybean, soy sauce, things like that, things made of soy, can elevate your estrogen levels. There's estrogen in soy. When you eat it, you digest it, your body absorbs the soy. There's estrogen in it. The estrogen gets in your bloodstream. Your estrogen goes up. Not good if you're a guy. Really not that great for anybody to have excess estrogen. Estrogen is fat. It makes you hold water, things like that. So they basically mentioned that in soybean, it actually inhibits estrogen. These little chemical things went and blocked your estrogen receptors, and their estrogen couldn't get in. No, there's drugs that inhibit estrogen, like Arimidex, Aromazin, Letrozole. They inhibit estrogen. They're drugs. They're chemicals. You take them. It blocks estrogen. It doesn't let your estrogen receptors recept any estrogen. So it keeps your estrogen really low. It can drive it to zero. It sucks if you take too much of them. Soy is not going to do that. Soy is going to do the opposite. It's like another just like misleading thing, like to mislead people who don't know better, right? So anyway, I'm not bashing plant-based diets here. I'm like I said, we're omnivores. It's about having a balanced diet. If you want to be the healthiest person, and like if you're in sports or bodybuilding, whatever, and you want to perform at a high level, eat meat and plants. They work really well together, actually. Going extreme on one thing or extreme on another thing, you're going to lack something, right? If all you eat is meat, you're going to lack the benefits of eating vegetables. If all you eat is vegetables, you're going to lack the benefits of eating meat. So, you know, have common sense. If you want to be a vegetarian or vegan because you really like animals and all that shit, that's cool. Like, be you, but like, don't like push it on other people and say that they're going to perform better. Some people might not. Like, a lot of that depends on your genetics too, like I mentioned earlier, right? So, anyway, that's my rant on the Game Changer documentary. Hope that helped clear some things up for people who might have been confused about it. I really couldn't believe that they portrayed it that way. It honestly just seemed like one big commercial to me. I wouldn't be surprised if like that Beyond Meat company had stocks in that or sponsored that or some shit, because that's really how it came off. It was extremely one-sided. But again, yeah, that's my thoughts. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. Leave a comment below of anything you might want me to make a video about or talk about, or you can make fun of me. I don't really care. It's just it's all good. So hope you guys liked it.